to the Ramon Foster Show, brought to you by the Get Go Cafe and Market, where they are open 24/7, serving hot, fresh food. Mon, my friend, happy Monday. Happy Monday.
It is, man. We see another one, and it's kind of great-ish today. Hey, Nashville, as of late, has been very Western PA-like, and I don't know if it's because there's so many Steelers fans down here or what, but boy, y'all we got it right now in Nashville.
All I know is I'm happy to be out of that miserable Florida heat and back in Pittsburgh. All I brought back was this Mixon's t-shirt. It's all I ever bring back from Fruit Farms. But no frivolity today. Remember, we promised.
We did. We're back on schedule.
This is a frivol-free zone or something. Let's talk about the NFL draft, Mon. It's coming up on faster than people might think. It's at the end of this month.
It is.
The Steelers, of course, hold the number 20 pick, at least for now. We talk a lot, you and I do, about quarterbacks. And we've gone through some of the names. You know, Malik Willis, Desmond Ridder, Kenny Pickett, obviously.
Yeah.
Which position would you like to see? Presuming everything else is even, which position would you like to see this team land?
I got two, simply because you asked me to pick one, which specific, and I don't have a specific because this team has needs still, or at least they need to address some stuff before it goes further and age catch up and an injury can catch you here or there. And those two positions for me, I think is cornerback.
I think you just gave one of them away.
Well, yeah, of course. Well, it's definitely not quarterback anymore, considering our old friend Ben is retired, and I'm not ready for him to take a quarterback this year. I'll just be completely honest with you about that. But I would say cornerback / DB, whichever fits the mold best. I know, still searching for that safety.
Yes.
Because Terrell is still out there. And if it's me, I say to Terrell, go back to where you're comfortable more than anything. And I'm not saying settle for a deal. I'm just saying, Pittsburgh knows you. And if for anything you do a 1 year, and you try to cash in on the next cycle of what free agency is going to be. So I don't know if there's going to be a safety or cornerback, but I see those two positions as positions that needs to have more youth, more talent, especially at the 20th pick. And it's going to be a lot of quality guys coming out this year as far as the cornerback position goes too, especially in that 20 range. I would say, and you can pick a safety if you're going to pick a DB at that position, because the devaluation of safeties has been disrespectful almost. They're really putting that position in a box almost as close to running backs. Like anybody can just go get one, or you put more cornerbacks out there to where you don't need a safety. And I don't like you convert them. So again, or you get a very physical corner that can play in the box, and i.e. Mike Hilton. Cam Sutton is another guy that played that role who's now starting cornerback. Heck, let's be real. Joe Hayden towards the latter parts of his career. Talk about his physicality. He showed it way more than I think people expected him to. He's another guy as Pittsburgh ties.
Ask everybody in Nashville how they feel about Joe Hayden's ability to stop the big
longest
play,
yard
right?
again.
Oh man.
And man, that was I'm being real with you all the time, but that play by Joe may have been one of his most shocking plays I've seen him make in his career.
Pure strength.
Pure strength and will at that point.
It's the reason you bench.
Oh, my gosh. And do leg press. And Joe's working out like crazy right now. The other position, because I told you too, would be D tackle.
And that was the one I knew you had coming as soon as you started talking about older players.
Yeah. And this is actually the sweet spot, honestly, of where this team has always went and got another guy. When Kiesel and Kursky was kind of aging up a little bit, Kiesel really career kind of jump started around year 6-7 for him. I know Cam's a little bit further along than that. I think Cam's getting into double-digit years now. And it's about time you start looking, okay, who's my next Cam? The same way you ask, well, where's my next Casey? Or where's my next? There's a group of guys, and Tua is another guy that, if I think Cam can probably play as long as he really wants to, just being honest, because he's a pro like that. But we're at a point to where you got to start looking, okay, who's the next first rounder in that defensive tackle room with Coach Dunbar and that group of guys where they've been very strategic, I think, in passing along what the tradition of playing that role for the Pittsburgh Steelers is. From Coach James, from Coach Mitchell, Coach John Mitchell just never giving up, like never giving an inch to a young guy. Because the guys that played in front of him, that he coached up in that room, they earned it. Cam earned it. Tua earned it. Tyson Alualu has become a guy that shows you, well, this is why I'm a first rounder. This is why I continue to sign back with the Steelers. And I think now at the threshold that they're at, with those guys getting a little bit older, it's time to start injecting some new guys in that room, some high pedigree guys, because it's two positions that the Steelers always draft high at. Outside linebacker, defensive tackle, nose tackle, baby. Those two positions right there going to always be high because the expectations of what that room, those guys before him, the steel curtain, all the way through the 90s. Like, let's think about that lineage of guys through Pittsburgh history. I don't know if there's been another organization that's consistently hit like that.
Yeah, there's, especially when it comes to defensive tackle. I think when you're talking about edge rusher, the Steelers have... I was about to use a really bad pun by accident and say that they have an edge on teams, but that they have had a different approach where, because of the 3-4 alignment, because of the Dick LeBeau emphasis on blitzing, that they were able to find raw material like Lamar Woodley, like TJ. If you get right down to it, TJ converted.
I mean, think about Worlds.
You know,
Jason
Worlds, who really didn't look like he belonged for a while, you know?
Yeah.
And then once he found that path to the quarterback, once they put him on his correct side, everything was okay with Worlds. Yeah. They have always found a way at that position. But, Moan, when we're talking about the defensive line, we are talking about the franchise of Mean Joe Green. Yeah. We are talking about Chuck Noll's first draft pick. We're talking about the anchor upon which the 4 Super Bowl teams in the 70s were built. And then it's just gone on. And you know infinitely better than I do how these guys talk about the defensive line pride, not just in terms of their play, but also in terms of, you know, how they are with the community stuff, that's a defensive line thing. We are the defensive line. We're the ones that, you know, whether it's Brett Kiesel, Aaron Smith, and so forth, passed on to Cam and Steph and these guys. That never stops. And Cam is going to want to have the next great Steelers defensive lineman right here, right under his wing.
Yep, 100%, man. And I'm looking forward. There's some great guys. Georgia got so many defensive tackles that are coming out this year. I don't think the Jordan Davis kid is going to be there by that time.
Neither does the head coach. As he said at the pro day, Mike Tomlin was asked Jordan Davis, and he said his actual response was, he will already have hugged Roger Goodell by the time we pick.
Yes, sir. That's all I got for you, DK. D-tackle me or cornerback, and I'm good to go on those two.
Move up and get Jordan Davis. We're going to have a fun conversation. When we come back, because Moans brought this up late last week, and because there was a development over the weekend on this front, we're going to talk about Zach Banner. Welcome back to the Ramon Foster Show. Zach Banner is a player who was right there next to you on the line. He's a guy who it's impossible to not like.
He's 2 down from me in the locker room. You know, there's a space between me and his. Oh,
and yet, if he was 20 down, you would have still heard him.
100%.
And that's one of the things about Banner that I think he put himself into positions, Moen, both on and off the field, where if he didn't excel, that it was going to come back and bite him. And at the same time, Moen, I covered the training camp at Heinz Field where he legitimately not just beat out Chooks, but Steelers' own evaluators deemed that he was the best performing offensive lineman of anyone in the group, including Marquise Pouncey and David DeCastro in that camp when he beat out Chooks. And then the injury happened.
I know. Man, and the thing, his journey, his path, his career has just been so frustrating, from coming out of college, coming out of high school, an All-American, going to his premier school, USC, and being the the coach's choice of everything that came his way. And then he gets into the NFL and has his issues early on. I know he's talked about his struggles with Wade and getting on different teams and battling back. And I'll never forget, after I retired, I'm talking to Coach T. That was the summer going into that camp. And Coach T told me, Mon, he did it. And most guys, man, you either struggle with weight a little bit, you manage it very well, or
he did what?
You lose it. He said he beat it, Mo. And I was like, what? He was like, the weight. He was like, Zach beat it. He was like, man, he's in a great space. His body looks good. His mentals is all well. And I know the battle he went through with the diet that he was doing, the running, the training, the aspirations to be great. And then again, like you said, the ACL happens. And I'm sure that was probably the worst setback he needed, because he was playing lights out. Like, Zach is a big dude, like literally and figuratively, okay? And everything about him, he wants it to be big. Also, you hear his voice, you see his hair, you see his walk is big, his mantra is big about him. But in all of those things, aside from, we're talking about his off the field stuff, like the thing about all of that stuff, those wants, those needs, those that hope that you're gonna be the man, like you got to actually go do that too, and I know the ACL kind of tricked him off because it ain't nothing you could do about it. Turf, whether we want to call it whatever it was, it happened. But then we come back this year and everybody asking the same question: what's going on with Zach? And he's not there. And because of, like you said, the on and off the field hopes and dreams of being big, you at the end of the day had to say, boy, you better perform.
I heard it from others in the locker room, and I'm not sharing a secret here because it was stuff that would get projected across the room. Vince Williams was like, saying, hey, you with the big hair, big voice, big everything, I'm really looking forward to you, showing that on the field. The ACL, I was there in East Rutherford, and yeah, it was probably the turf. I mean, it's the same thing that took Saquon Barkley down, and there were other players that ended up getting hurt, and so something of a pattern at MetLife Stadium with that particular injury. But there's also something, Moan, about the human condition that when you put so much into something, and all it does is punch you in the face.
Yeah,
it's a different beast.
And it's right there in the grasp of everything you want. Like that deal he signed a couple years ago was a prove-it deal. And I thought that he was proving everything he needed to, man. But this is the part where I think some people like Vince and a little bit of myself too, I'll be completely honest, were of the mindset like, man, you're doing a lot, but we need you to make sure you can answer that call when that phone rings too. And I think that's where he's at this past year was, again, I think the struggles that he's had probably kind of hit him again, whether it was weight, whether it was mental, whether it was a lot, because the battle back, man, and I thank God I never had a major injury, okay, like ACL and Achilles and shoulder surgery.
You came this close.
Very close. And in 4 weeks, I was back out there because I don't know what it does to you mentally. So if you're battling almost anything and you're by yourself, isolated. That's why Coach Tatum always trying to bring guys on road trips and stuff, because when you go get isolated and you're on your own time and you got all this money and you got all this access to whatever you want to, it's probably easier to go eat, easier to go party, easy to forget the game, because why? I'm not already in the fold anyhow. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that's what happened to him this year. I don't want to speculate, but I know I've seen guys do this before. And again, y'all know, because I put it out on Twitter when he said he was going 0 dark 30 like a couple years ago. I was like, about time. Like, stop talking on social media.
You weren't the only one to say that, to have that response on the team either.
Because when you put it out there like that and you're taking on everybody's battles a little bit, and some of the stuff he did with social injustice was freaking phenomenal.
Yes, it was.
But again, DK, listeners, my thing is, I don't care if a guy raps. I don't care if he sews. I don't care what he markets. I don't care what he does. He can go do a movie for all I want, doing his own stunts. But at the end of the day, I tell anybody, do what you want to maximize your dollars, all of those things. But let's not forget what got you to that point. And that's that 120 yards. That's really 100 yards in between those lines and 52 across. If you don't perform on that gridiron, either in camp or either during the game, people are going to come for your head. And that's what happened to Zach this offseason. injury or not, because the best ability is availability. And it happened to him.
I have never seen you happier, not even after a big win, not even after winning in Cincinnati, than after that stupid tie in Cleveland. And you know what I'm going to say here, because I came up to you, you were taking the tape off your ankles and everything else. This was up in Cleveland. Yeah. And you looked up and you said, I told you I'd be here. I told you I'd be here. Because that's how hard you work to make sure not only that you were going to be available, but that you convinced your head coach.
Yeah.
That was the real battle.
The weather had to work in my favor, because if it was 90 degrees, he wasn't going to put me out there. He had already told me, Mon, if it's hot and humid, you're not playing because you're not conditioned for it. But it was overcast, it was rainy, a little windy, and I was happy to be there because, DK, at the end of the day, again, I was more worried about what I was able to do on the field, because everything else take care of itself after that.
The effect of the effect of the injury on the professional athlete cannot be overstated. Literally everything that you're working toward in your life just is gone like that in a split second. When we come back, Hey Mon. Welcome back to the Ramon Foster Show. This is always the Hey Mon segment of our program. And today's comes from Douglas Meek, who asks, Hey Mon, would love to know how you first met DK. Obviously, we all know that. But how did this all come to be, your friendship? And that you got into, this was a YouTube comment, and you wrote underneath it, LOL, we've never actually even talked about that ourselves. And it kind of occurred to me, we really haven't.
We really haven't. So me and DK, I'll be real with you. In the beginning, I'm sure in my young career, I didn't know who DK, definitely didn't know how to say his name. Okay. We just go ahead and throw that out there real quick. All right.
That's why the initials come in handy.
You feel me, Dejan? And you said, no, I don't know if it was you or somebody's like, well, his name in his country is like as common as David is.
Oh, yeah.
In America. Yeah. So Dejan is that. And I want to make sure I'm saying it right even then. But besides that, DK in the beginning was I'm sure like everybody else, just another, I'm going to go ahead and say another vulture in the locker room that was trying to get a story. But the thing about DK has always been this. He don't come for you for BS. He come to you for realness and what you got to say. Like, no. Cut all of that. Don't give me what you just gave him. Give me what it exactly was. And I appreciated that. It may have been you that made me realize that, look, y'all don't know anything, meaning the media, unless we say something. So if you ask me something,
it's in your control,
or it's under my control. And I think you may have been one of the ones like, come on, Ramon, go ahead and pry it out so I can get on with the story. So it was that. And I appreciate that about DK too. And it wasn't snaky. It wasn't slimy on how you went about your approach. And our friendship became, well, you was always there and in the locker room, and your approach to how you wrote up stories and reported stuff was honest. It was good. It was fair. And I was just like, okay, cool. And plus then our conversations began to get a little bit better, and you grew. And I remember you came to me and told me when you were going to walk away from your old job, and I'm looking at you side eye like, you doing what?
What are you doing? What?
You going to start who? DK what?
I remember this.
Yeah, I remember all of that happening, and here you are again. So when it comes down to me doing this, how do we call this a job? This show, the Ramon Foster Show. You brought it up to me a few times, and I was just like, and you've always said to me, when you're done, when you're done,
you're coming here.
We should come here. We should think about something. I'm still side-eyeing it like, dude, I'm making decent money doing this job over here in the NFL. But you were consistent with it, and I think that's always the best approach. I appreciate people that have their own businesses, that have a vision, because it's almost like a sport in a sense too, on how you make it grow and how you get better at it. You got to be dumb enough, idiotic enough, ignorant enough, silly, blind, all of those things to think that your stuff is going to work. And when I saw DK stuff working, I'm like, okay, this is some cool stuff. And I remember you telling me about the growth of the site and how you're moving and shaking around Pittsburgh and trying to get it to grow. So fast forward to when I retired. You instantly hit me up and, what you want to do? You want to do this? And I started writing for you before I actually got the job here in Nashville. And I'm doing one article because I like to write. You knew that. I don't know how you got exposed to that, but you knew that. I started writing the articles, and then we move a little further. And you kept asking me, we should do, some visuals. And I was just, whatever. I'm still trying to figure stuff out. And, fast forward to this, we were talking about, we were doing it once a week, and then I missed some stuff and get busy. We're off on the different schedules. And you really just kind of convinced me like this could work, Ramon. Like people listen to you, because I never looked at myself as a guy that's, is going to grab the crowd, or I don't have the Pro Bowls, the All Pros, the first round draft, none of those things. But you were impressed by how I reported and how I gave delivery of what I wanted to say. And I was honest about what I had to say. So the Ramon Foster Show came from those relationships. Like this wasn't just a overnight thing. No. DK's probably asked me since I retired, did I want to do this show for like the last 2 years? And I've been, no, doing it once a week. And you were like, man, people want more of it. And we just kind of just sat down and discussed what this could actually turn into. And truth be told, this is therapy. I love talking to Steeler Nation, love having conversations with you because we are friends. And I appreciate that approach, man. And it's easy to do stuff when you got like-minded ambitions and you got like-minded friends. Not that we agree on everything, but no. It's cool to have some back and forth and give knowledge and understanding to our listeners too.
Yeah, it's about, and I'd like to think it's been this way from the beginning of our, initially the professional relationship, meaning in the locker room. It's about real and it's about trust.
Yeah.
Which
is hard. That last part, the trust part,
real.
Like I said, when you exposed to me, we can't say anything unless you say it. So what are you going to say? The fact that you actually said that, and it made me more savvy in doing my interviews as a pro too.
No, it's about that. It's about Chicago, to be honest with you. Yeah, and for anybody who doesn't know what we're talking about here, that was the anthem flap in which you and Marquise, and in his own strange way, Dave, had to deal with the anthem flap because Allie was rushed on out of that room.
Should have been, yeah,
by no less than people all the way up to Art Rooney, who were in there making sure that things weren't going to get out of hand in there. But there's a realness that has to come with that. Mm-hmm. From a positional standpoint, I have always gravitated toward the offensive line men because I know where my bread gets buttered in a given locker room, depending on the sport. Yeah. But I've also had people over the years, I'd like to think that I still have them with the Steelers, Penguins, and Pirates, where I say, that's my guy. Mm-hmm. That's the one I know I can trust. Not necessarily for big, hot scoops, contract extensions and stuff. Just give me what's real. Mm-hmm. Okay, what's really, how is the team right now? What's the mindset? Mm-hmm. I'm not looking for stuff that I can go, right. It's more just, I need to have a sense because I'm writing opinion, or am I feeling what you're feeling? Right. I always knew that I could trust you on that front. But my favorite question that I get from listeners and readers on a regular basis is, can you find someone on hockey who's like a Ramon? Or can you find someone on baseball? And I said, the only way that's going to happen is if Ramon takes up hockey or Ramon takes up baseball, because there's only one of him. Please stop presuming that there is more than one Ramon. Now, if you do take up hockey, I know for a fact Peter Laviolette would have you in front of the net on the power play down there for the Predators. Just set the screen, man.
I saw Ben have his day at PPG Arena, and all I could think was, man, if that was me, I'd probably slip on the ice just walking out there. So y'all don't want that, man. I promise. I'm learning more about baseball, and I've been reading the articles and the daily shots, DK, of you talking about the Pirates, and I'm just like, you know what? I don't know if I want that stress.
But I will say this in my own attempt to answer the initial question. I'll make it a lot simpler, Mon, than anything professional or anything experience-based. And this is something that I've told you yourself. There are people in your life who add, and there are people in your life who subtract. Mm. And the more that you surround yourself with the people who add, who pick you up, who make your day better, the happier your own life is going to be. And Mon is an adder. Okay. Mon is someone who's like that. And I've seen it not with me, but with lots of other people. They gravitate toward him. There's a natural, and that's why you got to be union rep of the Steelers. And that's why people came to you in Chicago. Oh my goodness, the waves of people coming to you. Marquise is sitting right next to you. And they're like, all Mr. All Pro headed to Canton, whatever. Yeah. Nope, we're going to 73. That's why, because they knew they could get something from it. So, wow, what a question.
Yeah, it was, man. I have no follow-up to that, DK. Somebody told me, Mom, you got to start just taking compliments. And you know what? I'll just take that.
There you go. There you go. Let's do another one of these tomorrow.
You know what? I'll be here.